Hello mateys, welcome to RimWorld.
This is a wonderful, wonderful game that I love to absolutely play the hell out of and then get bored of, and then it releases an update and then I play it the hell out of it again.
I have only played it for maybe 2 minutes, got frustrated because of the lack of tutorial, and rage quit.
Now, this game's actually pretty cool. It has a pretty difficult learning curve, especially coming into it now, I guess, because there's a whole bunch of new stuff from when I first played it. But basically, I'm going to be showing Brenden here how to play effectively and not get murdered by pirates, or raiders, or whatever they're called.
Okay, so I'm playing, and Logan's just going to tell me what to do, which is pretty much what he just said, although it kind of spaced out.
What did you do? You broke it. Never
Ignore that. I don't know if that caught in the screen cap, but ignore the desktop.
Anyways, so yeah, create a world. It's you.
Oh, you're actually telling me what to do now.
Yes. Seed doesn't really matter. The seed does not mean the actual world name. It's randomized anyways. But if you want to play on our world, yeah, click create world on the bottom right. Or you can change the size if you want. So if you want to play on the same world Brendan's about to create, use these settings.
Okay.
It's all randomly generated, so each...
Gosh, dingus.
What is happening?
Please don't... okay.
Anyways, so pick your size. It doesn't really matter. It starts off way too huge anyways.
Maybe the smallest.
Alright, and then generate it. So now it's going to generate its a random world. And if you can see near the center there's a little red dot. Around there's more red dots and stuff like that. Those are all the different factions that are already there. Most of them will probably already hate you and want to kill you.
Great.
But that's how the game progresses. So each different... if you don't want to listen to me talk, go to actual Tynan Sylvester's, the creator of this game, tutorials, because he actually explains things better than I do. But basically, the different colors are different sort of areas.
Yeah.
So I think the dark green is jungle or something like that. Light green is... No, forest might be, I think. The white is desert. I don't know what the dark sort of beige is. The lighter blue is Arctic, and the darker blue is boreal forest, which is a bit more where we live, so there's winter.
Okay.
I prefer to play in winter areas just because it adds a bit of difficulty as opposed to it being just regular temperature all year round, which kind of makes it boring. But either way, pick where you want to go. It's up to you. The colder areas are generally the harder areas, but you can still do it.
I have no idea.
It's up to you.
Okay, click.
If you if you zoom in, the brown specks basically show like where mountains are and hills, so that will basically show how much hills or places you can mine will spawn.
Okay.
If you want to build a underground base or in a mountain, you generally want to use a mountainous area. Or if you want to do an open map, I think open are a bit more fun and easier to build, but are much less defensible unless you build a perimeter wall, which takes ages. You want to start an open. So you probably want to start mountainous. So pick a spot that looks very mountainy, I suppose. Sure. So on the left, it'll show you the average temperature in the winter, the average temperature in the summer, which is January and July.
Yeah.
And the biome, the terrain, the rainfall. I don't really look at that because I don't really care. It's not really important to me. But the more rainfall, the more often it'll rain and stuff like that. Marble and limestone just sort of represent what kind of stone you'll find there.
Okay.
So say you want to build slate walls as opposed to marble walls, you want to go somewhere that has slate, but it doesn't make a huge difference. So anyways, save and finish. And then you have to create a new colony. Now, I prefer to play like free player base build, just because I don't like to be murdered horribly. But I think challenge is what it's supposed to be played on. And on the left, I should explain, Cassandra Classic sort of like as it says, creates a story of events that progressively get harder. The one below, if you want to click on her face. Phobie Base Builder is basically easier. She lets you build a base with less challenge, so even if you're on the actual challenge mode, it's not as hard as it would be if you pick the first one. And the last one is Randy Random. I know him because he's a complete douche. And basically he's random. He doesn't have a progressive difficulty. He may throw a raid at you right off the beginning that has like 100 dudes, I think. And or he can give you like 30 people to join your colony. It's all random. But it's fun. So you probably want to go for the top one. And just for now, you probably want to play like free player base builder, just to get the ins and outs of this game.
Okay.
And you won't get murdered. And then click the world you just created, which is called Aldebarvan 5. And then, I've been talking a lot, jeez. Now this is where you pick where your base is. Sorry, I confused this for last time. So, before you're in the green area in the center. Sure.
Center.
Sure. Go nuts.
Advanced.
If you want to click on that, I can show you. Basically, it'll show you the size of your actual map that you have. Generally, I keep it default just because I can. They're pretty big. And when I run it, if I zoom out, it'll lag a little bit for me. But my computer isn't amazing. So, may as well keep that basic. Also, if you want to look at a bit more specific details, on the left where it says mode, you want to click on that. You can do biomes, elevation. Full is generally the one you're going to use, but it shows like rainfall and temperature. I think the only other one I use is temperature, just to try and find the absolute coldest place I can go.
So, like, here.
Unfortunately, I think that's an ice sheet, so you can't actually go there. It's kind of weird, but you can't live on an ice sheet, so it makes sense.
Okay.
So anyways, if you want to click select site, and then this is where you get your 3 people. You don't get to customize them per se, but if you're not content with who they are, you generally want to re-randomize them, which is the top button there. Generally what I try to go for is I try to have all 3 of my people be able to do everything, and if I can get them to have, like, I think a construction passion, which is the little flames, or I go for a cooking, shooting, and a construction. Those are the 3 I deem the most important, just because they have someone to build effectively, someone to cook, because cooking is important. But it's not needed, because so long as they can do everything, you just have general workers, which are fine.
It's like a textbook up here.
Sorry. So yeah, you get to customize their nickname, which is the center one. So you may want to re-randomize him simply because he can't grow or mine.
So you can randomize it, but you can't actually change it?
Basically. So he's got good shooting. A cool thing that they added is the backstory, which actually is a story if you scroll over Frightened Child. It'll basically give an explanation of what they were as a child, and then also what they were as an adult. And it's randomized, so it's pretty cool, and basically those will affect what they can do. So as it says firefighting disabled, so that means they can't fight fires, which isn't horribly important because you don't usually have fires, but
okay.
It could be. So incapable of scary, which defines not being able to fight fires. And the traits too smart and industrious. I believe too smart means that they're more weak to psychic events, which can happen. Sorry, you sound really bored.
I'm just trying to listen to what you're saying.
Sorry. None of this is really important. And industrious, I believe, means they work like 20% faster. So that could be helpful. So I think this person's alright, you can use them. So at the top, click on the next one, Sugar Herbalist.
Can we change the name?
Yeah, the center one. Oh great. I'm a housemate, and I can't fight fires.
Yep.
So the next one is Sugar. She is incapable of none, which is good. And she has a very high growing stat, which can also be important. Medicine is another one that I find really important too. So she's good. You're probably good with her. Pessimist and a hard worker. I don't know what pessimist does. You want to scroll over that one? Okay, so she's just more generally less happy. But as long as you keep them generally happy, you're going to be okay.
That sounds like me. And I didn't do that right.
Delete button, maybe?
Uh-oh. I messed up. There we go.
There we go.
I spelled my name.
E.
I spelled my name wrong.
It's doing weird things.
Okay,
I don't know what's happening.
I know I spelled it right that time.
This is a bit of a bug.
Okay.
It likes to start placing it in the center. I think it's saying that on the side is where you are. So maybe try to, like, here. And maybe type it in. Or not. Apparently doesn't like long names.
I want to be Brenden.
Why don't you just change your name to Tnuki? Because it's less words, or letters, pardon me. Well,
Tnuki.
close enough? Close enough.
Nah, I'm just gonna do Brenden.
Okay. And then the last one is a minor. So he's not caring, and he's not social. It's like us,
Okay.
the teenagers. So if you wanted to, I'd recommend probably re-randomizing him. That's probably even better. So prostphobe, I think, means that he doesn't like bionic body parts. Yeah. And pessimist just means he's generally unhappy.
Yeah.
So I think you're good if you want to change his name.
To what? You name this guy.
Why don't we keep the trend going and name him Justin?
Okay. Nuts.
Well,
And it spells his name right.
I think because on the right, it does a weird thing. So I think if you re-randomized him, you might be able to make the name work. Oh. Because like if you watch, it'll follow along the name. And that'll start placing it before. So maybe try writing your name in a weird way. Maybe understand the fashion. So like do the first 2 letters and then write it backwards after that. So N. Maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah!
Oh.
I don't know how you did that, but good job.
I just put in a bunch of spaces after the last name.
Alright. Well, either way, figured it out. So now you can start. I think everything's all ready.
I am herbalist, just like in WoW. For some reason, I don't remember why I chose
This is
that
probably the
profession.
longest time I personally have ever taken to start a colony.
Start.
But it's great. So this can take a while, and the recording might stop because it'll go like, it stopped responding.
Maybe.
It's still responding. It just says it's not responding. Oh no, it worked fine. Okay, so before we start right into it, the thick of it is that, no, I'm sorry, that your 3 colonists are in pods and from a ship that has just been attacked or blown up or something. It's not really explained. And now you're crash landing on this outer world, I think, as it's explaining. And so basically, the point is you have a bunch of resources it gives you off the beginning, like the little white packages off to the right of the text box are food. The top is a whole bunch of metal. There's also a turtle hiding there for some reason. I don't know why. And silver. And you're basically trying to survive.
Alright,
I
hold
think
on.
you've figured out that much.
The 3 of you awake in your cryptosleep sarcophagi, okay, to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown RimWorld. As pieces of the shredded starship fall around you, you start making plans to survive.
I start making plans to survive.
Yes.
So
Okay.
basically you can recruit more people. I'd pause it right now. So click space.
Space?
Yeah, you can space. You can pause it in real time, which is why I love this game, because any game where you can pause it in the thick of things makes me so happy. So in the top right, when you zoomed out, you can see a herd of white things, which are called Muffalo. Yes, they are called Muffalo. You can click on them. Proof that they are indeed Muffalos.
Okay.
So you can hunt them for food if you need to. So I think you should be good for a little while. So the first thing you want to do is drag a box over all the items. And then click F, or the bottom icon. And basically, your colonists will now be allowed to use them, because the X means that your colonists won't touch them.
Okay.
As they're not allowed to. There's some metal and some food around that you might want to do as well. And so, could you zoom out again for me? So, I'm going to leave this one up to you. Do you want to build a base half in a mountain or completely out in the open? Half and half might actually work.
Alright, half and half.
So, if you look, that little black hole in the top left is a steam geyser. Not way up the top left.
Oh, here.
Yeah, that's a steam geyser. And if you research, I think like steam power, you can get a steam generator, which will give you energy non-stop, because electricity you really need in this game for lights and heaters and stuff like that. But that's a little bit later on in the game. So what you're first going to want to do, it's very important, because if you don't, you basically get screwed over, is you want to get a meal source, or else your people get really angry really quickly.
Okay.
So, click on the architect button in the bottom left, go to structure, And in one of the updates called the Stuff Update, they changed things around a little bit for me, but I've gotten used to it now. So click on the steel wall, but don't move your cursor off of it. And that'll let you choose what to build it out of. You don't really want to use silver, because silver you have to use 20 times the amount of resource, because silver is a weird kind of object. And because it's your first building, wood is a lot easier to get as opposed to steel. Steel's technically limited unless you get into trading. So wooden is going to be your best bet. And you're going to want to make a 5x5 room, I guess, is a good start. And leaving a one gap for a door.
So 5 by 5 on the inside or the wall?
Probably on the inside. Sorry, I didn't make that one.
Is there a way to cancel this?
Yes, if you drag over it, I think. No, I can't remember. I have to be playing it to remember. I think if you go to the architect menu and cancel, and then you can drag over it and it'll go away. Yeah, that's how it works. So probably, what is it, 7x7 then?
Yes. Okay.
Cool food. And then in the bottom left, where it says steel door, you probably want to change it to wooden door and build it right where it should go.
Should you rotate it?
No, it automatically works itself in. So the cool thing about this game that I didn't mention is that you said it doesn't have a tutorial, but it does in a respect that it has an adaptive tutorial. So there's a whole bunch of stuff flashing right now, which is sort of showing you how stuff works if you mouse over it. And in the right, when you start a little bit into the game, it'll tell you like hunters that lack weapons, or you're running low on food, or you're being attacked, but that's a sort of different thing. So it'll sort of adapt its tutorial based on what you seem to be lacking or missing. So say you're not building a lot of rooms, it'll tell you to like build a room, or you don't have enough food, it'll tell you to get more food and stuff like that.
Okay. It's
kind of a difficult concept when you start getting into it, but it's pretty cool once you actually figure out what you're doing and then look at it. So unpause it, so click 1, 2, or 3. I generally like to play on 3 just because I don't work things slow. And so when they come out of the pods, they drop a few meals, a pistol, a rifle, and a knife.
I've never seen a more accurate representation of Justin.
So pause it. You see on the right all the different things that it says now? So it's letting you know that a colonist needs bed, hunters lack weapon, build a room, blah, 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 blah. So another thing you will want to do is you want to set up a growing zone. So go into the architect and then zone. And then build a growing zone, which is and then just make it a 5x5. And then this is where your colonists are going to build, or not build, but build plants. They're going to plant whatever you define in that. So by default it's potatoes. You can also change it to strawberries. Potatoes I think you get more of, but strawberries your colonists are more happy to eat raw. So say you don't have a good meal source, if you just have them eat berries, they'll be less angry than if they had to eat raw potatoes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And if you click in the bottom right, the overview, you can start micromanaging what they're going to do. So as it starts off, you probably won't care about this because it's not horribly important. But you want to look, and if you're doing a lot of construction, I'll generally set all my people to do construction. Or if I'm trying to build a base inside of the ground, I'll have everyone mine, just so I can get the mining done faster. And if you want to really, really micromanage it, and where it has the X, where it says manual priorities, if you click on that, it'll basically let you number them by what you want them to do, like in order. So from left to right, it has higher to lower priority, right?
Okay.
I'm going probably a little bit fast. But the things on the left have a higher priority, and the ones on the right have a lower priority. So basically try to do each thing in order of them being assigned. So if you see Justin, he would firefight, be a doctor, and then a patient, and then flick. Flicks basically turn things on and off. He wouldn't be a warden because he's not selected to be a warden. Then he'd be a cook, and then he would cut plants, smith, tailor, art, and like that. But you can use this to sort of manually adjust. Like say you want him to hull before he is a doctor. You could go to the hull and click on it, and it would change it to a 3 or a 2 or a 1. So that would become the priority of what he would do first.
Okay.
Sorry, it's really complicated. You gotta play the game a couple times. And sorry, audience, I'm going fast and you're actually using this as a tutorial. I don't know why, because I'm not very good at explaining things, but I'm trying. It's kind of hard when you're a professional at the game and don't really notice. It all kind of comes naturally to me. Actually, one thing that they added in the newest update in the top bars is a timetable. I personally don't use this simply because I haven't figured out how, but basically you can set up timetables for what your people will do at certain times. So currently they're set to sleep at 22 hours to 6 hours, and then they'll do anything from 6 to 21, sort of shown by the blue and gray.
Yeah.
So you can sort of set different people to do different things. Like say you want a night guard, you could have someone sleep 6 till 21 and then work from 22 to 6.
Okay.
But I don't personally use this simply because it's overcomplicating things and they don't really seem to follow it. Like they try to start getting into the rhythm, but it takes so long for them to get into the proper sleeping pattern of when you tell them to sleep that it just doesn't work. So I generally keep it pretty basic and don't mess around with the timetable. Because as it stands, they'll basically go to sleep when they're tired anyways. So if you exit out of this and let them build the room, one of the most important things is that you want your colonists to sleep in a bed. So start it off by going in the bottom left where it says furniture. So basically, as you can see, the third and fourth thing is a sleeping spot and a steel bed. A sleeping spot is completely free. You can place it down and it's instantly built, but it makes people not very happy because you're sleeping on the ground. So you probably want to start off by building a bed, preferably a wood one, so you're not wasting steel. So click on it and then go to wood, and then just place 3 of them inside the room. They are facing the wrong way, but that's okay. The colonists honestly don't care. And then click escape or something like that, and it should deselect that. So as soon as they're building the room will automatically be built. That makes sense. Like a roof will be placed over it, so that they'll be happy to be sleeping indoors as opposed to sleeping outside.
But there's still trees and stuff in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what they try to do is they'll cut everything out of the way, build the walls, and they'll put a roof over it. And I'm pretty sure trees will die if they're underneath a roof.
And I'm doing everything.
Well, you can set, if you pause it and change our regime to build, not our regime, our priorities. So go to the overview menu again. And then you can set it so that everyone does construction. So if you select, and then me as well, we'll all do construction then, if we can.
Why not just select everything?
You can if you want.
What would be the downside of that?
Just that if, say, you wanted someone to do some research, that would be the last thing that they would do. And I tend to work things in a fashion where I'll set up a giant building that'll take ages to build, and say if I did that, no one would do any of the cooking or something like that. Well, I guess they would, because it would take a higher priority. But any other things that I wanted wouldn't get done after it.
I see.
So that's why doing the manual priorities can be helpful. So you can have one person who does specific building, one person who does specific growing and cooking, and then one person who does like cleaning, for example. And there's Justin throwing up for no apparent reason.
Gosh, dingus, Justin.
So if you want to allow your colonists to pick up the gun and stuff like that, or...
Where is it?
The gun is in the wall, for some reason. The medicine, and just make it so that the colonists can pick that up. Now they won't do it automatically because they're dumb. I also realized that both you and I are girls.
Yes,
We
apparently.
didn't think that one through. Not that I'm going to argue with it. It's great. But you see, there's the roof being built, so now they're inside, in darkness, but inside.
Yep, you and Justin.
I'm throwing up in the room. Justin was cleaning. So yeah, I recommend that you make it so that our colonists can pick up the food, so they'll go and eat. Eating's a good thing.
Food.
Yeah, so you want to make that so they can access that. So click on that and click F. And do that for everything, because if they... And the annoying thing about that is if there's a colonist, the colonist will be instantly selected. But there you go, yeah. So, what I do at this point is I try to see who's better with a gun and who's better with a knife, because you do only have 2 guns and 1 knife. So if I remember correctly, I think you or Justin are a brawler, which means you're better with knives and you're more happy to be using knives as opposed to guns. So if you click on one of the characters, and then, no, you clicked on the tree. And then you click on character, one of the tabs on the bottom left. It'll show you your skills and all that. So basically everything we saw at the beginning. So...
shooting is 0.
And you do have a passion for a knife. But we'll see if anyone else has a passion. Because I always prefer to have guns, simply because you have range and it's less risky in the respect that your people don't instantly get damaged because of fist fight.
Where does it say that?
What do you mean?
Passion for a knife.
It's the little flame. So that means a little passion, and if you click on someone else, perhaps they'll have a bigger passion. So if you see, I've got the 2 larger flames, which means I have a higher passion for shooting.
Yeah.
That's ironic.
Yes, it is.
So generally I'll try to give the person with the better shooting the better gun and the longer ranged gun, simply because they'll be more accurate. So if you go down and select the rifle, and right click on it as I'm selected. So left click on me, right click on the gun, and then equip survival rifle. I'll walk over and pick it up. So that's my weapon now. Click on Justin, because I don't know what he had the passion for. He had a passion for melee, and a much higher one than you.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend giving him the knife, because he could use it a bit better.
Where was the knife?
Right below him, right there, yep. And then I think you can use these 2 keys, which are the, not the left and right arrow, but like the weird 90.
Greater than and less than.
Yeah, those buttons, for people who don't know why I'm saying these buttons, just select different colonists. So if you click them, you'll cycle through them, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, if you go to yourself, and then equip the pistol, which is currently inside the house right now, just so that everyone has a weapon in case you get attacked. So that'll get rid of the warning on the left, or the right, that says Hunter lacks weapon. It should anyways. Okay, great. So now it's nighttime, everyone's going to their beds. And this is a good start because you have a solid room, so people will be marginally happier than if they're sleeping outside, not in a bed. So next you probably want to, just for decoration purposes, you might want to place a floor inside. And the next biggest thing you want is to get a cook stove. I guess I don't know why I'm forgetting that. So if you go into the production menu, I think it's production, it should have a cook stove. So you want to place a cook stove probably inside the building. It'll get pretty cramped pretty quickly, but you can build more.
It says not enough stored.
That's okay because you don't have a technical storage. In the top left, you see where it has like the little icon with 0.
It's blocked by a wooden wall.
So use Q and E to rotate it. That little circle is where the person has to stand to cook.
Oh.
So they'll build that when they can. You should have enough metal because there's 75, 75, 75 metal all hanging around. The numbers underneath those are basically saying how much there are in the stack to a maximum of 75.
Yeah.
But in the very top left corner of the screen, there's a little like icon. You probably don't know what that is, but it's silver, and it says 0. But because you don't have a storage, it won't say that you technically have anything. So what you're going to want to do is go into the architect menu, go into the zone section, and you probably want to place a stockpile. Now, stockpiles and dumping stockpiles work slightly different, except not, because you can make them do what each other do. So place that anywhere, probably close to the building, but it doesn't really matter. So basically, whoever you have set to hauling, which might be everyone to a certain degree, will drag everything that they can access, so that doesn't have an X on it, and bring it into that stockpile. And every item that's in the stockpile will appear in the top left, showing you what you have. So that's how you can sort of keep track of things. Once you get farther into the game, you can have different stockpiles. Like I'll have one in the kitchen, or no, in a freezer next to a kitchen that brings all the food in to keep it refrigerated.
Yeah.
Just so it doesn't go bad. And then so the cooks don't have to go far to get food. the cooks will then cook a meal and then bring the meal into a dining room that I'll have. So everything works a lot smoother. If that makes sense.
Sort of.
Because when it all comes down, you want to have like the most efficient base that can get the most done in the shortest period of time. Because when you're playing on a harder difficulty, attacks are going to get harder and more frequent, meaning people are probably more likely to get injured. And when they get injured, they have to take time to recover, which means not much gets done. So you want to try and set up a sort of like perimeter wall as soon as you can. But generally you can't because you won't have enough resources or stuff like that. If that makes sense. Basically, time's your worst enemy in this game.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just taking a breath. I'm talking way too much. So as you can see, I'm building the cook stove. And the cook stove is probably going to be the first item that you'll have, besides maybe a light, that requires power. So if you want to pause the game, and then go to the power menu. It's the third, there you go. So, I've never personally used a power switch, that's new to this update. But the two things you're probably going to use are a solar generator and a wind turbine. Now, as you probably have guessed, if you know anything about electricity, solar generators use sunlight to get energy, so they only work in the day, and wind turbines vary quite a lot about how much power they'll put out depending on the wind. And say there's trees in front or behind the wind turbine, they won't work as effectively because they don't have a open path for airflow.
Okay.
Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. Because if I am, let me know. Because I'm just kind of rambling on all the knowledge I have. So, you may want to be a bit more strategic than I am. Generally, I'll just place down a whole buttload of solar generators because I can. But I think wind turbines are less expensive. I think they're 100 scrap less. But I do think they produce less, but I'm not sure. So yeah, you can feel free to place that there. And one of the commands you're probably want to use right off the get-go is go to Orders. In the top left. Yeah. And then you're going to want to go to Cut Plants. And you're going to want to cut all the plants in that white box that was there when you first placed it. Just because you don't want any of the trees to slow down the wind turbine and thusly produce less power. So they're going to try to cut all the plants in that area and build the wind turbines. So next you're going to go to power again and place some power conduit. That probably stretches from the wind turbine to the base, just so that you can power the cook stove.
Does it have to directly touch it?
No, but you can't build it through the world there. So click okay. Underneath any power production, sorry I said like a billion times there. Underneath any power production things will automatically be power conduit, so you don't have to connect them, but they do have to be directly connected to conduit. So it sort of works in the fact that conduit is the main power supply, but each electronic device will have like a cord, if you would, which has a certain reach. So you don't have to connect conduit directly to the cook stove, because the cook stove will have like a power outlet or a wire that can plug into the outlet. Or conduit, sorry. I'm confusing my words and it's probably confusing you. But basically, the viewers can't see, but you want to stretch up the side there and across, probably to about there, and it might reach. So up to there and then across. Now, conduit, if you build it, can go into walls, but only like built walls. So if you don't want there to be like a piece of power conduit laying on the ground there, not that it makes a difference because it doesn't do anything, it's just more of a aesthetic thing, you can build it into walls instead. So anyways, let that play, and stuff should just start happening. You were laying on the ground, cloud watching. So in the new update, they added a thing called joy. So basically, people can only work so hard on certain things before they get bored and don't want to do it anymore. In which case, they'll go to their room and pray or meditate. You can build TVs, which will entertain them, or you can build like a horseshoe pin, and they'll go and play horseshoe or something like that. Just something to make them happy. They can also play pool, as another example. But they will do like generic things they haven't done before. Like if you see I'm laying on the ground there, staring up at the clouds again, you can go for walks. Just something that makes someone happy, right? And you can see that if, say, you click on me, or anyone really. And then you go to needs. So this is going to show everything that you really care to know, I guess. Like, you'll see their general mood. If their mood gets too bad, they'll, like, give up and leave the colony or go on a mental rampage or something like that. So generally, you don't want to have them unhappy. So the list of things there that start off with, like, extremely low expectations, and that the green number means stuff that's positively affecting them, like is making them happier. So my extremely low standards makes me happier because of the extremely low standards. And the red thing, which I didn't see, I can't remember, but if you click on someone again, it'll probably be there. And then go to needs again. So I'm hungry, which makes me slightly less happy, lowering my mood. So as you can see, there's just little things that slightly annoy them or slightly make them happy. Like eating off the ground makes them unhappy. Sharing a bedroom makes them unhappy. Just little things like that. All the other bars, so like rest is how tired they am. The joy is the thing I was talking about earlier. Beauty is based off the environment around them. So if there's like a lot of like rubble or unpleasant things to look at, it'll make them less happy in turn because there's not nice stuff to look at. And a way you can see what an area looks like is in the bottom right, the little person-like icon. If you click on that, it'll toggle the beauty display. So basically it's just going to show you what's affecting the beauty. So generally the ground, just plain ground, is -1. The rubble there is -11 or -16 as one of them are. And this is another thing that happens. So basically this is where you can name your colony. I'm going to let you be creative and figure this one out. Fantastic. Great. So the big number in the center, the yellow one that says -0.7, is the overall beauty in that specific area. So as you can see, it's generally not a beautiful place because it's not beautiful, if that makes sense. So basically just making an area look nicer makes your people happier. Comfort is based off like being able to sit down. You can untoggle that display by clicking the button again. Yeah. Comfort is basically like sleeping in a bed, sitting in a chair, stuff like that. Little things that make you more comfortable. And space is how cramped you feel. So if you're in like a tight 1-by-1 room, they're going to be unhappy because they're in a very claustrophobic place. I think that's everything in this menu, unless there's something you don't understand. Everything makes sense?
I think so.
Everything makes sense.
Yeah.
So some more tabs in the character menu. Another important one, if you want to click on someone again. Sorry. Okay, pause it for a second. That little envelope on the bottom right is extremely important, depending on whether it's blue, yellow, or red. A red event means something that's kind of bad, like a raid is happening, an animal's gone crazy and is going to attack your colonists, and little stuff like that. So in this case, it's just that there's someone visiting the colony. So that means that there's going to be someone who's going to walk up to your buildings and just kind of mill around. They won't do anything. You can kidnap them if you wanted to, but it makes their faction angry at you, which means they will attack you. So you don't really want to do that. It can be helpful because sometimes someone will visit your colony and then raiders will attack, and the raiders will attack the other person instead of you, and they'll fend off the raid for you. Brecken and Zelf. So they're just going to wander over to your base and basically just kind of stand around. Some yellow text events I know are, for example, an eclipse. So basically the sun doesn't rise, and you have solar generators, they won't work. So you'll run out of power. Or a EMP, that's not what it's called. But a solar flare can happen, which means all electrical devices are shut down and won't work for a day, which means you won't have meals, which can be annoying. And a psychic drone, which basically makes all your people more unhappy because they feel like there's something in their head.
A psychic drone?
Yeah. Well, we are in the year 5500.
Okay.
So anyways, if you click on the gear tab, I'm just going to explain the tabs quickly. So this is basically what they have in their inventory, what they're wearing, and what they have equipped.
Okay.
So depending on how it goes, you might have someone with power armor and a power helmet and a shirt underneath. But in the new update, they made it so that you can set up a menu that organizes what they wear for you. So say there's something better than what they're wearing, they'll automatically go and equip that instead. So it's kind of cool. So you don't have to deal with what they're wearing specifically. And if you click on the health tab, the one absolute amazing part about this game is that, who are you? You've got 2 cataracts. You can't see for shit.
Great.
Each little body part has its own health. So, and the left, you can see you're in a little bit of pain, probably because of the old gunshot and the stab scar. So that makes you a little bit unhappy. If you click on your sight, or hover over your sight, it says very poor. So you have an efficiency of 30% with your sight, which means you're not a very good shot because you can't see. Older people will also have like bad backs, which mean they can't lift as much. Well, I shouldn't say they can still pick up the same amount, but they'll move slower. So I think moving is slightly impaired as it is. But other than that, everything else, like your metabolism, your blood filtering, and your blood filtration are all okay. But say your colonist gets shot, and say he gets shot in the liver, the blood filtration won't be as good. Which is why you need a good doctor, because a doctor will patch up your people and then fix them.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to have a cataract in your eye forever. The cool thing about this game is that there's bionic body parts, which basically increase the effectiveness of things by, I think, up to 40%. So if you get 2 bionic eyes, you can install them in yourself, or the Brenden in-game, and you'll have, instead of having bad eyes, you'll have amazing eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
or say
sure.
someone gets their leg shot off, they can have a bionic leg, which means they move better and stuff like that. The actual... Justin's got a bad back, as I was saying. If you click on the operations up there, and then add bill, you probably won't click anything. But this is where you can set, like, say someone has their leg shot off, you can install a peg leg just as a placeholder so they can actually move around. Say you have a prisoner, you can harvest their organs and sell them. This game can be completely grim. Like, you can be at cannibals, it makes your people unhappy. You can take prisoners, rip out their left kidney, right lung, and then their heart, and then sell it. It's a very grim and arguably very bad game, but it's only as bad as you make it.
How long has it been?
It has been 43 minutes.
Because there's something I want to do, but I wait till after the tutorial mess is done.
It'll be a long time, my friend, sorry.
Now we should end the episode.
Alright. It's been a bit longer than I expected.
A bit.
But, alright, this is probably been the first part of my RimWorld tutorial where I show Brenden how to play. If you liked it, I don't know, wait for the next one. It'll probably be out soon.
Might be more interesting if you just played and...
Well, I want you to play it because I want you to get in the swing of it. Because it all comes down to practice, right? So, yeah. See you guys next time on Xidon Gaming.